Thanks for staying with us. Tonight, dozens of former employees of the Lake Basin Development Authority are languishing in abject poverty after they were retrenched 20 years ago. It has emerged that corrupt individuals plotted to steal the retirement benefits owed to the retirees after termination. For the first time since 2002, NTV can begin to show how the plot was hatched and executed. Here now is part one of NTV's special report, Dead Men Suing, with our crime and investigations reporter, Brian Obuya.
A fight for retrenchment benefits has spiraled into a complex legal tussle at a government parastatal.
We are suffering yet somebody is using what really belongs to us.
What we are pressing is the truth. We want to know the truth, how this money was paid, how much was paid.
Documents in our possession reveal a complex saga involving a string of lawyers and managers on the one end and tens of desperate retrenchees on the other.
Sisi tuko na shida. Tunanyeshewa, penye tuliwacha mvua inanyesha kwa manyumba. Watoto hawajasoma vizuri na pesa ziko. Si wangetupea tusomeshie watoto ama tujengee kwa nyumba hivi tukae ndani na watoto.
Lake basins are rot. There are a lot of funny things that have been done to us.
Mind-boggling legal twists and turns and a well-orchestrated scheme that has left many in poverty and depression.
Tulikuwa na ng'ombe tukauza wote mpaka sasa tulikosa pesa ya matibabu. Ndipo alikufa, baba pia akafa.
The intention of that particular deal was not to involve any retrenching.
An intriguing tale of convoluted accounting and outright greed.
The people who actually did this, who schemed this, they are corrupt, they are wicked.
Dozens of millions of shillings belonging to former employees of a state agency have disappeared into thin air. And those in positions of power and responsibility deny both the involvement and knowledge of the multi-million shilling scandal that has left in its wake hundreds of desperate retirees. But the evidence will show the underhand dealings of a well-crafted scheme whose true depth is just emerging, with pointed questions into the whereabouts of the millions of shillings. And we begin to answer some of those questions, at least in part, with accusing fingers pointed right at the men who were supposed to act in the best interest of the then employees. I am Brian Obuya, and this episode of NTV Investigates, that we could only title The Lake Basin Mafia, begins this minute.
The threat of at least 100 million shillings from a government parastatal is the subject of our investigation. A complex saga with lawyers and top managers as its key characters.
Not to excuses.
This is Raymond Omolo, at the time the Lake Basin Development Authority's managing director.
With so many funny stories.
Michael O'Cook, the state agency's legal manager. Eliakim Owala, a lawyer and former state agency employee. Joseph Musomba is a lawyer at Kulecho Musomba Advocates. Clifford Obiero Otieno is an ex-legal officer of the state agency. Olel Onyango Ingutia and Otieno Yogo Ojuro Advocates, law firms based in Kisumu. They are the prime moves at the heart of a million shilling scandal in which former employees complain of losing their very livelihoods. The Lake Basin Development Authority, LBDA, was founded as a national government development agency in August 1979. The agency was established to provide a vehicle for speedier, more meaningful and coordinated development in the Kenyan part of the Lake Victoria Basin. In 2002, things took a turn for the worse. In that year, the government was restructuring, and as a result, 25,783 civil servants across state institutions were sent on early retirement. Those affected included the LBDA, with up to 171 of its employees retrenched from the parastatal.
It's a rotten place.
Maurice Kalari Odero is one of those who was sent packing at the time.
One day, we were suddenly summoned abruptly with the information that nobody should leave the office, that there was some important information to be given to us. By around midday, thereabout, head of departments, the HOD, had a meeting. They just came with the letters suddenly, and they were distributing letters. And these were letters for dismissal or retrenchment. Surely, I want to tell you guys that we were really shocked.
I was employed in Lake Basin in 1988. Then we worked for up to 2002. We got retrenched. We were paid some little money, so everybody went his way.
Titus Korir Komen was the human resources manager at the LBDA in 2002. He participated in the retrenchment process only to fall victim to his actions. Komen went to court, sued the LBDA and won. Due to his intricate involvement in the process, Titus Korir Komen appears to have been aware of the loopholes in the entire process. In 2004, the human resources manager convinced the High Court that the process was riddled with illegalities. In the end, Justice Mohammed Warsame ruled, "I am satisfied that the retrenchment of Titus Korir Komen and the computation of his benefits were not done in accordance with the set instructions and guidelines for implementing staff retrenchment in the civil service as required, specifically on the letter dated 23rd June 2000. The judge further ruled that the procedure adopted by the Lake Basin Development Authority was a significant and fundamental departure from what was contained in the circular for retrenchment. The HR manager walked away with more than 6 million shillings paid by the LBDA as a result of a flawed retrenchment process. The letter of June 23, 2000, to which Justice Warsame referred, was a circular to be used in retrenching the employees, but nothing about it was applied, opening a floodgate of possible legal challenges. This is the copy of the Dr. Leakey circular in the possession of our investigations unit. It is not very legible owing to the passage of time and poor preservation. But according to a court ruling by Justice Ndumanderi, the circular stated that all retrenchees were to be given a golden handshake of 40,000 shillings each, payment of 2 months' salary in lieu of notice, a severance pay calculated at 2.5 months for every year worked based at a monthly salary as at the year 1995. Titus Komen's case therefore set the precedent for all the 171 Lake Basin Development Authority retrenchees who were retired in 2002 to sue the parastatal if they so wished. Indeed, several employees thereafter went to court on the strength of the Titus Korir Komen case and obtained judgments in their favor. But a more intriguing twist was about to unfold at LBDA. In November of 2020, we got wind of a court decision made by the High Court in Kisumu. The court had agreed to an out-of-court settlement in a case pitting the former employees and the Lake Basin Development Authority. The source from Homa Bay County told our investigations unit of the suffering of the complainants in that case and gave us a contact to one of the supposed beneficiaries. But the first alarm bells began ringing when the contact said he knew absolutely nothing about the case that had just been concluded in Kisumu. The implication was that either this contact was not being truthful or someone had gone to court in the name of the retrenchees without their knowledge and was about to pocket their millions. Then we stumbled on this. A picture of one Clifford Otieno Obiero pasted in the Standard newspaper and in Kenya's leading newspaper, The Daily Nation. And that is where we began.
I understand you work with them, or you used to work with them?
In the Kisumu judgment of February 2020, the court accepted an out-of-court settlement in a case involving former employees and the Lake Basin Development Authority. And it was now becoming clear that those behind the case had made it appear as if the retired staff members had sought a lawyer to assist them recover their monies from LBDA. Our investigations unit had reason to believe that some way, somehow, Clifford Otieno may have known something about this entire thing.
Yes, I used to work with LBDA, but I left.
Yeah, and I think that's also the reason why I wanted to talk to you. Maybe there's something you know, because they claim you were the person they visited at the time.
You know, remind me your name. I'm sorry.
Brian.
You know Brian?
Yes.
In many cases, once you've left an institution.
Yes.
Okay, I have no intention of sounding rude. Let me apologize before I make this statement.
Yeah.
There is some privacy policies.
Yes.
That binds an ex-employee.
Yes.
From issuing any information regarding his employer.
I know that is the procedure. But what if I told you that I would like to talk to you because of how heavily you've been involved, or rather mentioned, in the course of this matter? What if I told you that I'm talking to you because you have been published as a person who should not be conducting business on behalf of LBDA, yet some people claim that they have seen you in regards to the same?
No, that should be quite funny, because unless there is a new one that I don't know, but the only publication I know are two that were to the effect that I no longer work with them.
And they came 7 months later. When
I wrote, they responded to me that it was because of my acquaintances who are looking for me to know my whereabouts. I have a response from LBDA stating that that is the reason why they did the publication, and I took it that way. And again, I have no information.
The reason we basically want to talk to you is because of that. Maybe those acquaintances of yours have claimed that you have been addressing matters about the LBDA and how their case or their monies were lost and they were not involved.
That is quite funny. Anyway, it's quite funny.
If you ask me, it's not. If you ask me, it's not, because we are talking about the misappropriation of millions of shillings, Cliff.
Okay, this what we do.
In an office that had you as a signatory, you were part of the legal.
Let's have it this way.
Yes.
I want it to look like I am hiding something, being that it is an issue that touches on me.
With that, we embarked on a journey to Kisumu to seek an interview with Clifford Otieno Obiero, a legal officer at LBDA up until February of 2020. We wanted to know how the former employees had somehow won a case in court without being aware of the petition in the first place.
I worked for Lake Basin from the year 2013 until my resignation in the year 2020, the month of February.
Clifford explains the conspiracy he claims was hatched in advance to defraud the retrenchees.
We had a meeting
I think it was roughly in mid 2019, and the center of discussion was the retrenchees who were retrenched in the year 2002, and it was not like a meeting as such, because it was like we were called for a brief on basically what to go and do. Why am I arriving at that is because maybe we didn't allowed to contribute much.
Clifford claims to have been part of the meeting but sent packing afterwards.
We were to get a favorable advocate who is not in the panel to sue Lake Basin using a list that we were the people to compile and supply him, and the information that we were to give him, and we were then to take an advocate from our panel. They make a consent in court, and then the conditions is that the new advocate who must be somebody who is able to kick back or to do something, can be trusted to wire back the process, to wire back the money. The meeting was adjourned for another date, and instruction were that I go and compile the list, and then I will submit them for further directions. But because I was not comfortable, I wrote an email. Not an email, I wrote an opinion, because I didn't want it to be something that can be traced. You know, I was still treating everybody as my friend. So it was confidential, and then I wrote an opinion why I thought that that was not a well thought of process. And I placed it in a folder, and I passed it through the secretary to the managing director. 5 days, and I got a transfer. After a month, I already got a transfer again to go and be an administrator in a tree nursery somewhere in Alupe. And Brian, I went and looked at my contract, and even the fact that it was with immediate effect, and I saw some kind of malice and breach, and I went and I obtained a court order the same day under certificate, and when I served them, it was directing me that I go back to my office. They some little frustration and denying me access to the office, and I wrote some email complaining for several days before I resigned, which were not responded to. I sent them to the managing director.
He claims the security guards at his workplace were instructed to lock him out, and at one point they beat him up for showing up to work. At this point, he says the LBDA was happy to pay his salary with taxpayers' money, but refused to let him work.
And then one morning, after they behaved with me in a manner that I didn't like, and I reported to the police station, I appended my resignation, and I explained the reason why I was resigning. It was not voluntary, of course, and I had to just stop working with them, because the conditions I was being given by the gate is, if at all I have to get to the office. Actually, they told the watchman that if at all I have to get to the office, then I must learn how to take instructions. But you know, right now in Kenya, there are some offices whereby you cannot just take instructions. Trust me, with the office I used to sit, the legal office, it comes a time the MD should take instructions from me, especially when it is something that is going to backfire, something that is centered on the legal issue. You may have a PhD in statistics or whatever reasons, but provided I have a degree and maybe a postgraduate diploma in law, then you should be able to listen to me. And that is where now we fell out, and I was feeling that, you see, I was not adding value to the institution. And they were insisting that if I have to be there, then things must be done in a particular way. I was constrained to append my resignation, and I walked away.
The details that followed the reported meeting suggested a fraudulent conspiracy to divert the retrenchees' payouts into private pockets. A system-generated list of 154 employees was filed in court in the name of one Samuel Okechopondo, who was presented as a former employee seeking to sue LBDA. After the case was filed, the parties applied to have the matter settled out of court. And once the parties agreed to resolve the matter out of court, Justice Matthews Ndumanderi ordered that each of the beneficiaries be paid as per the Dr. Leakey circular. The judge went ahead to order that within 7 days, the Lake Basin Development Authority should file a computation of just how much money each person listed in the case was to receive. This ruling was made on February 10, 2020. The LBDA never returned to court to file this computation. Our investigations unit has perused that file 6 times since 2020, and by November 2022, no one at LBDA had answered the question of how much each beneficiary was to receive. After the February ruling, the then managing director Raymond Omolo approved the payments to a Nairobi-based advocate Eliakim Owala, a payment of 81,459,992 shillings for this case. NTV has been searching for victims of this saga across the Nyanza region. They are hard to find. After 20 years, the large majority of them still do not know each other, in spite of the claim that the suit was filed in their name. There are over a dozen of them dead. Maurice Kalari Odero says he came across the case filed by Eliakim Owala by sheer luck, and that they learned of it only after the ruling.
I personally decided to pursue the matter with the management of the LBDA. I went there and booked an appointment with HR that I wanted to see him over the same. So when I went there, before he wasn't in, so I met a legal manager, Mr. Michael Okelo Cook, and I told him, but my friend, what's happening? We are really suffering here, but you are the guys that are now on board. We've heard that our colleagues are being paid and people are just being paid. It's like you people are not really considering those who never went to court. And they, oh, are you amongst those guys who never went to court? Yes, I told me, of course I didn't go to court. Why didn't you go to court? I was unable to pay for the legal fee. Then we decided to nini. And okay, now it's good you've come at the right time. I want to tell you something that you see, the new managing director, when he came in, he found when there are so many legal cases against Lake Basin, and he has decided now to do something about the retrenchees, because me personally, as the legal manager, we've told him all that you guys have went through, and he has deemed it fit that we do a case. We do a case to get the money for you guys. And the only way of getting this money is to engage a lawyer on behalf of you people, and then it appears like you guys have sued Lake Basin, so that we can have a legal document to get the money from the treasury. So already we've used somebody called Samuel Okechopondo, and your names have been enlisted, and very soon you guys will be called, because already money has been released from the treasury, and Mr. Walla is an advocate. We'll call you guys to give you the money.
I went on a friendly basis just to see one of the staff, and that is when I was told, I've seen something like your name appearing somewhere, there's some money that you're supposed to get. Yeah. That is when now I started following up, and then I was told the money is with a lawyer known as Owala. So I looked for his number, then I called him, he accepted, but he didn't pay me immediately. He sent me 50,000 at first.
And as you will learn shortly, there is no evidence we have found to suggest that Eliakim Owala had received any instructions from his 107 purported clients. Some of them have never met Owala and are unfamiliar with his face, his office, or agents.
We as the retrenchees, we did not engage him anywhere. None of us engaged him. Not even a written document was given to him. Not even a signature was to authorize him to act on our behalf.
But more than 20 people Eliakim Owala claimed to represent in court are dead, with some of the deaths as old as the retrenchment itself. Along the Nairobi-Kisumu highway, Beryl Ogenyo works in her nursery. She grows and sells seedlings. She has been doing this for years now, and it is her only means of survival. Her mother worked for the LBDA until 2002 when she was retired.
Nilisikia kuna kesi walipeleka kotini, na wakili mwenye alipeleka hii kesi kotini hatukukuwa tunamjua. Sasa nilisikia jina ya mamangu iko kwa hiyo list. Nikastukia mbona jina ya mamangu inakuwa kwa hiyo list na mamangu alishakufa. Sasa nikaenda Lake Basin nikuulizie juu hiyo pesa walishapeana na mimi sikupata hiyo pesa. Ndio nikaenda Lake Basin niulize kama mbona wanapeleka jina ya mamangu kotini na mimi sijui chochote. By that time hatukukuwa tunajua.
They were just calling kuuliza wewe ni mtoto.
Florence Acheng is a teacher from Omboga in Kindube. She is the daughter of Lucy Anyango Onyango, who worked for the state agency as a secretary for 18 years since 1983 and was one of the 2002 retrenchees. She died in 2005. The late Lucy was listed as client number 31 by advocate Eliakim Owala. Florence says she and her siblings were surprised to learn of the court proceedings.
Ilikuwa 2005. Sasa tukakaa from that time mpaka hivi karibuni last year 2020 ndio mtu mwingine akatupigia simu ya kwamba wewe ni mtoto wa Lucy. Eti alikuwa akifanya na Lake Basin eti kuna pesa zake ziko. Nikamuuliza pesa za nini? Si mama aliacha kazi. Eti hapana, kuna pesa ilibaki apewe kuja uchukue.
We meet Betty Kagonga from Tigoi in Vihiga County. She is the mother of Jennifer Uside Mbego. Her daughter and husband were Lake Basin Development Authority employees. Both are deceased. Jennifer died in 2015 after serving the state agency from 1996. Her mother says that she was not part of the case.
Yeye alipeleka nani kotini? Sisi ndio atupeleke kotini aseme nalipa pesa za watu wale walitoka kazini. Sasa alipeleka wakina nani? Alienda kotini na nani? Sisi ndio nifaa tuende naye kotini. Sasa alienda na wakina nani? Na kama alienda na kina Jennifer walikufa. Alienda na maiti kwa koti.
Kagonga says the deaths of her husband and daughter struck her where it hurt the most. Jennifer had a son who is now struggling with school, and Kagonga, her grandmother, has been working on private farms to try and raise her grandchildren.
Baada ya kusikia amelipa nilichukua hatua kwenda kwa Lake Basin. Nikaenda kuuliza kama wanajua yeye. Wakanitolea faili yake nikaona. Nikaulizia wakasema nani amekwambia pesa ziko hapa mama? Nikamwambia mimi niliambiwa ati mshalipa watu pesa za wale watu walikuwa wamewachiwa kazi. Nikaambiwa niende nyumbani nitaambiwa. Paka dakika hii sijaambiwa chochote.
Odero Morris Kalari claims to have also met the then managing director Raymond Omolo over the retrenchment package.
When I told the MD that I was trying to chase the issue of retrenchment money, he accepted that fine. They had received some money from the treasury, and a lawyer had been engaged, and actually told me that the whole story, that he found a lot of cases in Lake Basin, and he wanted to do away with them once and for all. So he decided to look for an advocate to do a case on our behalf, and then get the money and pay us once and for all. So I told him, now MD, our problem is not the money, it's the manner, the manner of which how you people are doing it. Because one, you are telling me that you've engaged an advocate. This advocate, we don't know him. Two, where did this advocate get our the details of the former employees? Yeah. We did not give him our details. Three, We went to see the computation. I disclosed to him that I have a court order that I had ordered that the Lake Basin was supposed to give a computation, how the calculation was done. Interest was supposed to be given to us, and I gave him the same order. Believe me, he was shocked because he didn't know that I had that order. Yeah. So he told me, okay, fine, you are right. What you're asking for is right. But I want to tell you that you cannot get this money 100%. Because for me to get this money, I had to use some money.
Immaculate Adhiambo died 4 years after being retrenched from the LBDA, where she had worked for 18 years since January 26, 1983. Marion Akoth, her daughter, who is currently residing in Luanda, says she and her family were unaware of the court case. The weight and shame of the details came after she contacted the lawyer, Eliakim Owala.
Getting to know about Mr. Owala, I knew him through Mr. Cook because of the reference. But him taking the case to court, I was fully not aware.
Away in Siaya, Joseph Okoth tells us about the burial of his wife, a state agency retrenchee. She was also on the list, even though she died 16 years ago. Okoth is convinced that there was fraud.
Because retrenchees from 202, wengine wamekufa, wengine walienda risafu. So the very few people walibaki town ndio walikuwa wanafuatilia hii maneno. So I think they piled all the number of retrenchees, either dead or alive, to file a case.
This is a smart move by people stealing other people's money. Yeah, because if you look at it, Okechopond, I've never seen him. We've never worked in the same office. Okay, it's Lake Basin, we were under Lake Basin. I was based in Kisumu, worked in Yala Swamp. I've never worked in Alupe. So I don't see how he could be having my details, yeah, and give somebody go ahead to claim money on my behalf. And why claim money on my behalf and I'm still alive?
You've been watching Dead Men Suing. Part 2 continues after this short break. Do stay with us, and you can give us your thoughts on social media using the hashtag Dead Men Suing. Don't go far.